New revelations now surfacing from unsealed court records in the Trump classified documents case, showing how over the top the Biden White House was on this in attacking Trump. Plus, as Larry was just saying, how about the fix to stopping the harassment of Jewish college students at dozens of universities now nationwide? Get rid of their tax-free status. Prosecute every academic supporting terrorism. We're digging into how universities also reportedly getting billions of dollars from the Middle East. Is that fomenting these attacks and the protests? But first, let's get the update in the hush money case. Joining us now, former Assistant U.S. Attorney Andrew McCarthy. It's good to see you again, Andrew. Thanks for joining us.
Liz.
This news, a judge on the Trump hush money case delayed his ruling on whether Trump had violated the gag order 10 times, as a Manhattan DA claimed. This case looks like it's collapsing into a circus. Isn't this overreach gagging Trump to begin with?
Well, yeah, I think it's not so much, Liz, that it's collapsing. It's that it always was a farce. And a big part of it, look, Bragg delayed bringing this case for 5 years. This goes to conduct that he says occurred between 2015 and 2017. That's between 7 and 9 years ago. The facts have been known about this for a very long time, and Michael Cohen pled guilty in 2018. He delayed years in this so that the case would take place, that the case would be teed up for trial during the months before the presidential election. And the whole point of the gag order is to prevent Trump from being able to run effectively for president, just like the point of the trial is mainly to keep him chained to a courtroom in Manhattan.
Yeah, Trump is saying it's unconstitutional. He's saying there's a double standard. The gag order stops Trump from responding to political attacks, but Michael Cohen, a witness, is attacking Trump. And, you know, when the Trump team couldn't, cite case law saying it's just common sense to not have a gag order, the judge reportedly said, quote, "You've presented nothing and you're losing all credibility with the court." What was your reaction when you heard that?
I'm not at all surprised, because this is a judge who a week ago, or a little more than that, expanded the scope of the gag order under circumstances where Trump was making a valid argument that he has political bias, and saying that part of the evidence of that is that the judge's daughter is a Democratic political operative. So the judge then turns around and expands the scope of the gag order so Trump isn't allowed to talk about members of the judge's family, as if what Trump was trying to do was threaten them, as opposed to make his case that he's in an unfair proceeding with a judge whose partiality is obvious. So that's the kind of games that have been playing here. And the courts that have been involved in this, Liz, have not felt at all that they need to bend or make any accommodation of the administration of justice to the fact that we have an ongoing presidential election where the public has an interest in robust debate and robust political speech by the candidates, and Trump has a right to run for president. These judges don't think that anything it comes before their trials, and I don't think it's a fair position to put Trump in, because if the judge really cared most about the administration of justice, the easy solution would be put the trial off until after the election.
Interesting,
then
yeah.
He can have as high a gag order as he wants to have, because then Trump wouldn't be able to say, the campaign takes precedence or my rights take precedence.
Unless he wins,
then the judge would be on
unless he
firm footing.
wins, who knows? So, the judge, let's stay on the judge, because there's issues about bias here. Republicans in House Judiciary, they tweeted the judge's daughter allegedly made $600,000 from Adam Schiff's campaign when, basically to tout how Adam Schiff was leading the House impeachment case along with 6 other Democrats to impeach Trump. Also, Schiff's campaign for the Senate reportedly has been campaigning off of the hush money trial, pulling in millions of dollars in campaign donations. DA Bragg's team, when you look at it, he's bringing up charges they never filed against Trump. You wonder how, they claim Trump committed conspiracy, election fraud. Bragg's team, the FEC, the DOJ never charged Trump with that. As you point out, the FEC and DOJ dropped this case. So this is an abstract case. It's built on, as you've pointed out, books and records, state misdemeanor, jury-rigged up into a federal campaign violation. Let's listen to Jonathan Turley on this. Watch this.
What is clear is, in this case, Trump is right. I mean, this is an embarrassment. You had this misdemeanor under state law that had run out. This is going back to related to the 2016 election. And they zapped it back into life by alleging that there was a campaign finance violation under the federal laws that doesn't exist. On top of that, you've got these tough factual issues that were laid out well by the Trump team, saying someone else designated this as a legal expense, and he was actually paid far in excess of this because of this was a legal account. But also keep in mind, this is what Hillary Clinton's people did. You know, remember when they funded the Steele dossier, which they denied to reporters, they put it as a legal expense, and then they fought the eventual fine that they received from the federal government, saying, but it was a legal expense.
So where's the hush money case against Hillary Clinton?
Well, obviously, there is no hush money case, but I think that the deeper point here is that there's collusion going on between the federal government and the state government. The federal government is the exclusive agency, or the exclusive two agencies in the federal government that are allowed to enforce federal campaign law. And if any other state or county district attorney in the country were trying to enforce federal law, the Justice Department would be going crazy. But because it's Trump, they let it go, obviously.
Right. Andy McCarthy, thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.